Hey, John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got this suggestion for a video topic from Pavel, and Pavel had basically said that he would like to see me talk a little bit more about communication at work, perhaps convincing non-technical people of your suggestions. So that's a great topic. I've definitely had problems trying to convince non-technical people of my suggestions and technical people, and I've met both with both success and failure. Over time I've gotten better at doing this, and so maybe I can help you to get better at it too. I think it's something, a skill that every technical person, every non-technical person should learn, which is basically the skill of convincing other people of things, right? Of being persuasive is what I would call it. So let me start off by saying the very first thing, which is that you need to speak with conviction, right? This is kind of the first ground rule that you have to have if you're going to convince anyone of anything. No one is convinced by someone who doesn't speak with conviction, or it's very difficult to convince someone when you are unsure of a thing yourself. Now, I like to say that you should have strong convictions but hold on to them loosely, or beliefs strong beliefs loosely held, right? And the reason, what this essentially means is that if you believe a thing, you should speak as if it's the truth, right? Convince people as if it's the truth. Don't question, don't act like you're unsure of what you're saying. Be sure of it, but also be willing to change your viewpoint if you're wrong. Be willing to have someone tell you that, hey, this is not correct, and then be willing to go back, be open-minded, essentially. So you're going to have these beliefs. They're strong beliefs. You're preaching these things, but they're loosely held. You could if you're wrong, you're willing to give it up and go the other way. So, obviously, if you watch my videos, if you've watched my training videos or anything where I'm teaching, I speak as if this is the truth, because I believe this is the truth, right? I'm not telling you BS that I'm just that I don't believe, right? I'm not just making up stuff. I'm telling you what I actually believe, and I believe it to be true. But I'm not always right. I'm not 100% right. If you tell me that I'm wrong, I can be convinced that I'm wrong. I honestly am willing to let go of my belief, and that is what's going to make me a little bit more convincing than someone who either is saying, "Oh, yeah, I guess what I would do, I don't know. I mean, maybe you should do this, but," right? Or someone who's just, "Yep, no, I know exactly what's right, and if you disagree with me, you're totally wrong," right? Neither of those approaches are going to be as convincing or as persuasive as someone who is speaking with conviction, but you know that they're willing to, if their beliefs are challenged and they find themselves wrong, they're willing to go back and revise what they believe about a thing, right? You want to come off that way as much as possible, which kind of dovetails us into the second point here. If you want people to believe your suggestions, or to pay attention to be convinced of your suggestions, you've got to give up some ground as well. You got to lose a few. You got to throw a few fights, right? What do I mean by throwing a few fights? Well, I mean this. Here's the deal. Next time you're in the conversation with someone that you find hard to convince of your suggestions, and you're in an argument or about to get in an argument or discussion, right, pre-argument stage with them, or even, I guess it could be in an argument, right? Here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and just say this. Say, as I think about this a little bit more, I have to say, I think you have convinced me. I believe that you are right, and I am wrong. As I think about this, the more and more I think about it, I think I'm completely wrong in the situation, and I defer to you. You have convinced me. You are correct. Obviously I did a little bit of an exaggeration there, but honestly, say something like that, and you just watch the shock on their face, right? They've probably never seen someone ever do this before. Most people have never, right? Have you ever seen someone do this? They're going to gain immense respect for you. They're going to be very happy. First of all, they're going to feel good about themselves because they have convinced you of a thing. But they're also going to gain a huge amount of respect for you and your opinion. You're going to be a genius in their eyes, because why are you a genius? Well, because you agree with them. So that's the smartest possible point that you could have. You must be the wisest man on earth if you have seen the error of their ways and been convinced, the error of your ways, and been convinced of the truth that they've been trying to tell you. So try that out. Yeah, you might say it's a manipulative tactic. Sure, okay, maybe it is a little bit, but here's the thing. No one gets hurt there. It's a benefit for you, it's a benefit for them, and you can be sincere about it too, right? I mean, and you should be sincere about it. Pick a thing that you know that you're wrong, and just give up the battle. You just mid-fight, throw in the white flag and say, look, hey, I'm arguing out of ego here, and I recognize this, and you're right. I'm just arguing with you because I don't want to be wrong. But what can I can't fight the battle when when I can't win. So I'm wrong. You're right. Let's shake hands about it, right? Man, you're going to gain so much credibility. And they're going to want to reciprocate. Reciprocity will come into play there. Like, have you ever told someone you're sorry, and then all of a sudden they're now wrong and they're sorry as well? Same principle. This is, I mean, it's not easy to do, right? It's going to take some, you're going to need some humble pie a little bit, but you put this into practice, you're going to have a lot more luck convincing people because you're going to gain a huge amount of credibility, and people are going to think of you as a fair-minded person, as a reasonable, logical person, which is going to gain you a lot of weight in arguments. And now, speaking of arguments, don't get into arguments, right? Let's go into another topic here. I could talk about this for hours, but I'm going to try and condense this here. I'm going to say read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I always preach about this book because it's such a good book, and this is exactly the kind of topics that are addressed in this book. In that book, he says, don't get into arguments. Avoid them like rattlesnakes and earthquakes, right? And the reason why is because you can't win an argument. He says in that book that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you get in an argument with someone and you browbeat them to the point that they agree with you, they're not really going to agree with you, right? When they go home, and they're going to think that you're an a-hole and that they're actually still right, even though they conceded to your point. So you can't win an argument, so don't get into an argument. That's, what you have to do is figure out a different way to convince someone of your point. And sometimes what that involves is a concession, like I said before. Sometimes it's a concession of something that you don't even know, right? Because sometimes when someone's arguing against you, it's not that they disagree with you. It's an issue of pride. You've made it an issue of pride. You've made it an issue of saving face. You've made it hard for them to agree with you. So make it as easy as possible for someone to agree with you by not calling into question their integrity, their knowledge, or anything like that. In fact, here's a technique, again, also mentioned in How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is the Socrates method, right? So Socrates was a Greek philosopher. You've probably heard of him. But what he did was, in order to convince people of things, he didn't confront them directly. He questioned them, and he asked a series of leading questions to get them to go down the path that he wanted, to have them find the conclusion for themselves, to discover it. So people are a lot more likely to accept an idea that they view as their own. So if you can get people thinking that they have found the answer on their own, in fact, you lead them down the path via different questions that get them to that point, they are much more likely to eat what you're serving. In fact, they're more likely to take a second helping of it, right, as Dale Carnegie put it in that book. So this is something that you might try, is giving questions, keep on questioning to help someone discover the answer for themselves. You're going to have to eat a little bit of humble pie, right? You're not going to gain credit for the answer, but the question you have to ask yourself is, are you looking for credit for having the right answer, or are you looking for getting the right thing done? If you're looking for getting the credit of being a genius, of having the right answer, sorry, I can't help you very much, because most of the techniques I'm going to give you are going to be involve giving that up a little bit. I mean, wise people around you will know that what you're doing, but a majority of the world will not realize that you are the genius that you are, right? But if you're interested in having the right things done, well then, these methods will help you. Again, there's a lot more we could talk about on this subject, but hopefully this will get you going. Let me know if this is helpful to you. This is a subject that I think everyone should know about, so I'm glad that you brought this up. Check out that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you like this video, if you think this video could help someone, and I think this one probably can, share it out, give someone some help, and because I think we could all develop this skill more, myself included. How many times do I get into arguments and then I think, man, should not be in an argument. Arguments are bad. So thanks again for bringing up this topic. If you like this video, subscribe. I'll talk to you next week. Take care. And yeah, or maybe not next week. Hey, it might be earlier than that since I'm recording a bunch of videos. All right, take care.